I'll give it to you without the hoopla, Danny boy. The simple facts of life. I'm sitting in the crossfire with the cops on one side and Miley Freeman on the other, and the both of them gunning for me. So I'm the guy who knows that you're the one who took the 20 grand from Smiley to cover up the dirt and kill him. Got a cigarette, Danny boy? Now, my proposition's quick and easy, Danny. We split the 20. 5 for you, 15 for me, and I take it on the lam. Live and let live's my motto. Oh, that look in your eye, Danny's painful to me pride. Oh, Danny boy, don't kill me. Danny boy, don't.
There's been a murder.
Evening, Inspector.
Hi, boys.
Always happens in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
That's Joe Gordon, all right?
Yeah.
He won't be doing much testifying now.
Convenient for Smiley Freeman.
Yeah.
Fellow over there with the dog says he saw it.
Yeah? Stenographer here yet?
Not yet, Inspector.
What's this guy's name?
Frank Johnson. Lives around here. Claimed he was out walking his dog.
Hi, Mr. Johnson. Inspector Ferris, homicide detail. Understand you had a front seat.
I sure did.
Get a good look at the killer?
Too good. That streetlight was right on his face when he got out of his car and shot at.
Shot at you?
Twice.
You're lucky he missed. Think you'd recognize him? You saw him again?
It's not a face I'm likely to forget.
Pick him out of a lineup?
I think so. Yeah. Say, what's this all about anyway?
The dead man, Joe Gordon, was going to testify before the grand jury next week.
That's tough.
Not too. He had a bad record. He knew too much about Smiley Freeman. You know who Smiley Freeman is?
The gangster?
That's right. Gordon was our witness. Now, you're it.
Me?
Yeah. All you have to do is identify the killer. We'll do the rest. Married?
In a way.
What do you mean, in a way? Are you or aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Where do you live?
Right over there, 136 Alta Linda, apartment 4D.
Pick up Mrs. Johnson. Bring her over here.
Okay.
Hey, don't wake her up. She's not gonna like it.
Well, she'll want to know where you are, won't she? We're taking you down to headquarters.
Headquarters? What for?
Protective custody.
I see what you mean.
Now, where were you standing when he shot at you?
Oh, right down there.
Show me.
Well, I was right down there with the dog when the car drove up. I didn't pay much attention to it. A little bit later, I heard a shot. I looked up just in time to see this fellow, what's-his-name, fall out of the car. Then the killer pumped another shot right into him. My dog barked. He got out of the car, started to shoot at me. I ducked, and he drove away.
What kind of a car?
I don't know, a light coupe. They all look alike to me.
Well, his aim was all right. He was just shooting at the wrong target. He thought your shadow was you.
Will you go call Reardon?
Maybe he won't miss next time.
There won't be any next time.
Yeah, but suppose you don't get a conviction, then what? Do I have to spend the rest of my life with police protection? Or wind up on a sidewalk like him?
What are you worried about? He missed, didn't he? Stay here a minute. We'll get the rest of the story downtown.
I hate to get mixed up in this.
Yeah, it's getting so a man has to be careful where he's looking these days.
Take it easy.
Keep out of here, will you?
Say, I think I dropped my pipe somewhere around here. Is it okay if I look for it?
Remember where you had it last?
Yeah, it was right over here somewhere.
What's the matter, Buster? Come on, get out of here, will you?
Pick up Smiley Freeman and everybody connected with him. Put him in a lineup, see if Johnson can identify anybody.
I want everybody. No excuses, no lawyers. I want everybody. Will do. See if you can pick up anything on that car. Somebody may have seen it. Mrs. Johnson, that's not your husband. Man was killed. He saw it happen. He's right over here. Sorry I had to get you out of bed, Mrs. Johnson. But after all, we had to make sure that he had a wife. Where is he? He took a powder. Sergeant, pick up Johnson. The idiot will get himself
down there
killed.
and cover the park.
Just like him, always running away.
What do you mean, always running away? Running away from what?
From everything.
Broadcast the description. White, male American. Wears a trench coat, soft brown hat. A very ordinary-looking fellow, I'm afraid. Yeah. Well, how would you describe your husband, Mrs. Johnson?
I couldn't. I haven't been able to for a long time. May I go now? Come on, you might.
Nice dish, huh? Nice-looking dish. I want everything shut off. Bridge controls, roadblocks, everything. I'll stick with her. Right. Did you hear the shots fired?
How could I? I was in bed, sound asleep.
Find any pictures of him?
No, but plenty of her. Just some tired snaps of him.
They won't do anybody any good. But keep them. It's books on psychology. I wonder why. Has he got a problem?
I wouldn't know.
Maybe he's confused. Aren't we all? Pipe smoker.
What does that mean?
Nothing. Oh, he's got two suits, one of which he's wearing. Well, what does he care what he looks like? Nobody pays any attention to him anyway. Not even his wife.
You're really wasting your time. There must be at least 20,000 men in San Francisco who answer that description. How are you going to find him? There'd have to be something different about him. Different anyway from other people.
There is something different about him. There's something different about everybody. And we're going to dig till we find out what it is. Now, you see our problem, Mrs. Johnson. Why won't you help us?
I'm helping. What do you want me to do?
I want you to answer a few questions.
Go ahead, ask.
Where does he generally go when he's not at home?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Has he any relatives in this area?
No.
Who are his friends?
I don't know his friends. The dog is our only mutual friend.
You always go to sleep when he walks the dog?
No, sometimes he goes to sleep and I walk the dog.
Say, Inspector, here are a couple of more.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry. There's been a mistake. Release these men at once. Keep digging.
Okay. Every man between the ages of 35 and 40 who is out tonight is wearing a trench coat and a snap-brim felt. All of them 5'11", weighing 170, and all of them scared to answer questions.
The domestic situation in this town must be terrible.
Yeah. Kitchen?
Well, it's got a stove in it.
Don't you eat anything but dog food?
He's not particular, and I'm lazy, so we eat out.
Where?
Well, let's see. The corner drugstore, the lobster grill at the wharf when we're in that neighborhood, and when we get real fancy, Manlow's Oriental Roof Garden. Those usually. We're creatures of habit, I'm afraid.
Check the Oriental Roof Garden. They'll still be open.
Yes, sir. 2 o'clock in the morning. How am I going to explain this at home? What's going on here?
I'm sorry. There's been a mistake.
He's sorry. What am I going to tell my wife?
Come on.
What did you and your husband quarrel about tonight, Mrs. Johnson?
We don't have to have a reason anymore.
Don't you have a decent picture of your husband?
No, he doesn't like to have his picture taken.
I don't want any photographs of him floating around that might get in the papers. The killer doesn't know what he looks like.
Didn't he see him?
No, he shot at his shadow.
Shot. He shot at Frank?
Twice. Nobody knows that except the killer, your husband, and now you. So let's keep it that way. It's important.
He's really in danger then.
Worried? I thought you were beyond worrying about him.
I didn't say that.
If he doesn't give himself up, you're really going to have something to worry about. We've got to protect him.
Like you did the other witness?
Joe Gordon would be alive right now if he hadn't had his lawyer spring him.
Hey, Mark. Here's a prescription for Frank Johnson.
Husband ill?
No, he just likes to take medicine.
Well, what are these for?
I don't know. He just likes to take vitamin pills, cold shots, anything.
What's up here?
Studio. My husband's an artist.
Oh, I thought you said he worked at Hart and Winston.
He does. He's in charge of displays down there.
Oh, window trimmer, huh?
Rembrandt, get down. You know you're not allowed up there.
Rembrandt?
It's the nearest we could ever get to owning one. Frank's little joke. He found the mutt sitting on the street corner one night waiting for someone to adopt him. They recognized each other right away.
Is this supposed to be you?
Yes. It was a lovely autumn day. The wind was blowing through my hair. It was all very charming, but that was 4 years ago. That was Frank's Cyprus period. He had 4 important periods in his painting career.
Say, how did you two ever happen to get together in the first place?
I met him at a friend's house in Carmel. He wanted to paint, and I was all for it. I had $5,000, and he had $2,000 in talent, so we got married. After Carmel, he became restless, so we went to Taos, New Mexico, where he painted Indians. That's an Indian.
Yeah.
Then he got tired of Indians, so he went to Bucks County, Pennsylvania, where he painted old Dutch barns with hex signs on them.
Say, did he ever do a self-portrait?
He didn't like himself that much.
Oh. You do these in Pennsylvania?
No, he got restless again, so we came to San Francisco. Here he started sketching crummy old characters that hung around wharves, missions, and gin mills. That was his social protest period. Then our money ran out, and he had to take a job.
Couldn't sell the stuff, huh?
He wouldn't try to sell it. Didn't think it was good enough. These sketchbooks are filled with great ideas he never got around to painting.
Well, didn't you try to get a job?
Why should I? That's his responsibility, not mine.
Friend to your husband?
No, that's his burlesque period.
Now, that I like. It's pretty good.
Yes, but it takes more than talent to have a career. You have to have staying power. Frank's a drifter, so when the money ran out, we just drifted.
Who's this?
Oh, some dance team over in Chinatown.
Know him?
Oh, he's a retired ferry boat captain who does sand sculptures at the beach.
Oh, I know who that is. That's Rembrandt.
What has all this got to do with finding Frank?
You just answer the questions. That is, if it doesn't hurt.
Why should it hurt me? It's all past and done with. If you want to snoop into the remains of our marriage, that's up to you.
Don't touch that telephone. If that's your husband, find out where he is. But keep on talking.
Hello? Oh, hello, Frank.
Place that call.
Eleanor, there's something I want you to get.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but if I were you, I'd hang up. The police are tracing your call.
Hello. Hello. Hey, hang up. Seems to me I heard music. Wasn't that music?
You didn't do your husband a favor, Mrs. Johnson. It's bad enough to be alone in a big city with no place to go. But as soon as the newspapers hit the streets and the killer finds out he didn't get your husband, there'll be guys looking for him with guns. If I had a husband I wanted to get rid of, I'd do exactly what you did.
If he wants to run away, that's his business.
And your business, too, Mrs. Johnson. I'll be seeing you. No wonder the world's full of bachelors. A little more needling's all she needs. Give her plenty of rope, but keep her tailed.
She wants to get rid of him.
Women are curious. Even that dame will go after him.
Come on, be a good fellow and let us up.
Who's handling the case?
Inspector Ferris.
Oh, he's a friend of mine.
Is that right, Inspector? Sure, we know him well.
Hi, Ferris. What's the dope?
No story.
How about that Johnson gal? Is she good looking?
What about the witness?
What witness?
Oh, cut it out. Cut it out. It's already gone to press. You get a look at the murderer?
No.
What's his wife like? Any filth?
Lay off the tabloid sex stuff, Leggett. I'll give it to all of you in the morning.
Hiya, Homer.
No favorites. Don't scream. You're coming out or going in?
Are you the police?
Smile when you say that. I'm a reporter.
Oh, newspaper man.
Well, you don't have to say it like that.
Let go of me. Go away. Are you just going to leave me dangling here?
Well, you just said
I
let
don't
you-
care what I said. Help me get out of here.
It's a pleasure, Mrs. J. You are Mrs. Johnson, aren't you?
No, I'm the maid taking my night out.
Oh, what magic I possess. A moment ago, total strangers. Now you're in my arms.
So it's love at first sight. Now show me how you got up here without the police seeing you.
Do I get the story?
After I get out of here.
Follow me then. Looks like half the police force is down there.
Must I?
Just look straight ahead like you did when you got married. Incidentally, my name's Leggett. Leggett of the Graphic. We've got a dandy little sheet all full of goo and gore and everything. Hey!
Bye.
Taken, madam. Well, thank you, Mrs. Johnson. I'd love to join you. You didn't think you were going to get rid of me as easy as you ducked the police, did you? I'll have you know, Mrs. J, I'm an old fire escape man from way back.
Why don't you get lost?
Now then, how about the story?
You'll get the story from my husband when he's safe and sound in jail.
Oh, but he won't be safe and sound. Have you forgotten a fellow by the name of Joe Gordon?
Do you wish something?
Yeah, let me have a bourbon old-fashioned. Why did you come here tonight, Mrs. Johnson? Or shouldn't I ask?
Because I like it here.
You didn't by any chance come here to meet, say, your husband, did you? Or is that a far-fetched supposition? Supposition? I better stop using those four-syllable words. I won't be working for the Graphic anymore. Where's your husband, Mrs. Johnson?
I don't know.
Did he see the killer?
I don't know.
Should we dance?
Why don't you drop dead?
Hold on.
Why don't you be nice to me, Mrs. Johnson? Who knows? I might even be able to help you. I'm not a bad guy when you get to know me. A little obnoxious, perhaps, but pleasant. Now then, answer yes or no. Your husband saw the killer and took it on the lam, right?
Right.
And you're meeting him here?
I haven't the slightest idea. I came here on a hunch. When he phoned tonight, I heard music that could only have come from this joint.
Something to eat?
No, thanks. No food.
Oh, go ahead. Try something.
No, really, nothing.
Oh, I've got a deal for you. You find your husband with my help. Give me an exclusive for 24 hours, and I'll get my paper to pay you for it.
Trying to buy me so soon?
First, I'm going to try and buy you. And if I can, I'm going to try to win you.
Isn't that the reverse of the usual procedure?
I'm a perverse fellow. On second thought, Mrs. J, I find you very attractive. I may try and win you right off.
No, thanks. I'd rather be bought.
Very mercenary. All to the good, though. I like mercenary women.
Good thấy đúng thấy nè. Đây ngon lắm.
Money?
Sure.
How much?
Oh, I don't know, grand maybe.
Is it worth that much?
Will be by the time I get through building it up.
Frank will need it if he wants to get away.
I'll bring it with me. Just tell me where and when.
And you won't print anything until I give the word.
Scout's honor.
It's a deal.
Shall we drink to it? To the speedy conclusion of all our troubles. Yours, your husband's, and mine.
You've got troubles? You don't look it.
None that I can't solve now that we're partners.
Hiya, Mrs. Johnson.
Hi, Sammy. Sit down. Meet Mr. Leggett of the Graphic.
Oh, a newspaper man.
Sammy?
You should have caught the show. Susie and I are breaking in a new act. Chunga no Quito. It's terrific. That's spelled C-H-U-N-G. Anybody can spell a Quito. Of course, we're only breaking in the show here, but a little plug would help.
Well, I'll see what I can do.
Thanks. Next time you come catch the midnight show, the place is really jumping then. I'll be seeing you.
Bye, Sammy.
Night.
Well, I think I'll go home. Frank won't show tonight.
How do you know?
I just know, that's all.
What are you going to tell your husband when you see him?
To give himself up. Maybe I'll give up, too.
Leave your flag down. You want to go in over the roof?
No, I'll go in the front door and give them something to think about.
No, in that case, I'll disappear. Let's not give them too much to think about.
Well, if I need you, I'll get in touch with you.
Oh, you won't have to get in touch with me, Mr. Johnson. Just look around. I'll be there.
Good night, Mr. Leggett. What are you doing here?
That was nice going, Mrs. Johnson, but the next time you try to get out, you'll have more trouble. I've got news for you. I've just seen your husband's doctor.
Why, aren't you feeling well?
Your husband isn't a hypochondriac. He's a very sick man. He's got a bad heart.
I don't believe it.
Ask Dr. Holler.
Frank never said anything to me about it.
Maybe he figured you wouldn't be interested.
Well, he can walk into any drugstore and buy some medicine.
Not without a prescription, he can't. And I've given orders to every drugstore in town that none of this medicine's to be dispensed without an order from me. If he should have an attack and not have that with him, you know what that means.
You can't do that.
If it's the only way I can get him to come in and testify, I mean to use it.
But Frank's done nothing wrong.
Oh, yes, he has. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I thought the police were supposed to protect people, not put them in danger.
All it says in my book, sister, is that the good of the majority's got to be upheld. And for the good of the majority, Frank Johnson's got to testify. If he gives himself up, we'll give him a supply of medicine, we'll protect him.
And if he doesn't?
He'll die of a heart attack or a bullet from one of Smiley Freeman's men.
I don't believe a word you're saying. You're only trying to frighten me. And I'm getting pretty sick of you. Now get out of here.
Of course, if you want to try to find it, I won't try to stop you. But I don't think you can find it. I don't think he's running away from us. I think he's running away from you.
I said get out.
I am violating my instructions from the police by giving you this additional supply, but rest assured it gives me no feeling of guilt.
Thank you, Doctor.
After the excitement of last night, your husband undoubtedly used the ampules he carried with him. So you see, my action is not prompted by kindness so much as reluctance to gamble with a man's life.
Is his heart really that bad, Doctor?
Frank's condition isn't any worse than thousands of men that strain their hearts running in track meets. The misguided believed that they were building up their bodies. If it were only his heart, we could control it.
What do you mean?
Well, for the past year, your husband has had hypertension. That complicates matters.
Hypertension. What causes that?
Well, I'm not sure. My guess is overwork, unhappiness, anxiety. But you know more about it than I do.
Why should I?
But naturally, you must know about his troubles. I'm only his doctor. You are his wife.
Oh, yes. I'm that bitter, selfish, vicious wife. The cause of his unhappiness, the cause of his failure. Is that what he told you? Is that what he tells everyone?
Frank didn't discuss his private life with me, nor do I care to hear it from you. I shall explain to you his condition, and that's all. He has a cardiac condition. Let's call it X. Now, X alone is not serious. He also has hypertension. Let's call that Y. Now, X plus Y is dangerous.
I'm Y, I suppose.
I'm not a psychiatrist, Mrs. Johnson. I deal only with facts. X plus Y equals steady deterioration. X minus Y is an improvement. Now, what you and your husband do about it, that's your personal concern.
My only personal concern right now is to get these ampules to him.
If you see him, tell him he should give himself up. It's imperative to take the strain of himself.
I'll give him the facts. He can draw his own conclusions. darling. I thought I'd never find you. Now stay right here. I'll be back in 5 minutes to explain everything.
All right, Mr. Johnson, come along.
My name isn't Johnson.
Yeah, and I suppose that isn't your wife either.
No, but I wish it were.
Do you have any identification?
Yes, I have. My name is Stephen Carruthers, optometrist. While we're on the subject, I think you better have your eyes examined.
So Frank is a fugitive from the law. Well, that's just like him. He's so adventurous.
Adventurous, Frank?
Oh, yes, indeed. Sit down, Mrs. Johnson. I guess you've never visited our workshop before.
What makes you think he's adventurous?
Oh, but he is. All the places he's gone and all the things he's done. You know, my life has been pretty uneventful. Straight from high school to this job. From my rooming house to the streetcar and then down here to work. In the evening, back to my rooming house again. But since he's been here, it's different. He makes my life kind of exciting. I never get tired listening to the stories he tells about his trip down to Mexico. When he was wandering around with all those bullfighters. And when he shipped off to Tahiti in that old freighter and then jumped ship. Oh, I'm sorry. I suppose you've heard these stories many times, Mrs. Johnson.
I never heard them. He never told me.
He didn't? Well, maybe he didn't want his wife to know. Oh, I'm sorry if I talked out of turn.
Of course you haven't. Shouldn't the mail be here?
Why, yes, it should. Why?
Frank sent me a letter in care of you.
Oh, he did? I don't know what Mr. Anderson's going to say. When he finds out Frank isn't coming in today, you know, he's got a terrible disposition. He doesn't exercise enough. Of course, I don't either, but then... Well, I'm going to protect Frank. He saved my job once. You know, Mr. Anderson was going to fire me. But Frank said, if Mr. Mabus goes, you can pay me off, too. Oh, they had a terrible argument. They even took it upstairs to Mr. Winston. Well, we're still here. Frank was too valuable.
Look, Mr. Mabus, don't tell anyone about that letter that's coming.
Oh, no. You can trust me.
Not even the police.
The police? Are they coming here?
They're very apt to. But just don't mention the letter or anything about my being here at all, huh?
Well, I don't know how good I am at deceiving people, but if it's for Frank, I'll try.
Hey, Mavis, you better get the lead out and get upstairs. Anderson's blowing his top.
Okay, I'll be right up. Is the mail in yet?
How should I know?
Nice people. Sometimes I think it'd be better for Frank if he got himself fired. Well, he doesn't belong around here. Look at all the time he puts in these mannequins. Say, I just noticed something. This looks like you.
Very flattering. Is that the way he sees me?
Well, it may be a little severe, but it shows he was thinking about you anyway.
Yes, and what he was thinking.
Mail? You've only got 2 today, Mr. Mavis. Wasn't Frank here?
No, he's late. Was there a letter for him?
No, I just had a new song I wanted him to hear. Frank's the only one who listens to me sing. Oh, brother, have I got a crush on that man. Mm-hmm.
No letter.
Oh, but there's got to be one.
Well, maybe it'll be here on the afternoon mail at 3 o'clock.
If one comes, hold it for me. And let's just keep it our secret, shall we?
Good morning, Mr. Johnson. He didn't show up for work this morning, did he? Where'd your new pal Leggett?
I haven't the vaguest idea.
I wouldn't get too cozy with that guy if I were you. He'd crucify his grandmother for a story.
I haven't found him as objectionable as you are. What right have you prying into my personal life, having me followed as if I were a criminal? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of you, and I want it stopped.
Mrs. Johnson, didn't your husband ever beat you?
Are you going to have these men stop following me?
The man who killed Joe Gordon isn't stupid. If I'm smart enough to use you as a bird dog to lead us to your husband, so is he. You may be very happy to have a cop around before this thing's over.
That I doubt.
Stick with it.
How could I lose a redhead like that?
so grumpy this morning? All I'm trying to do is help you. Do you know that you've got a little shadow? Huh? There she is. Well, it's a nice morning for a ride. Oh, by the way, here's your letter. Well, I'll be surprised. Don't be. $10 and an underpaid store clerk can get you anything. But don't you worry about it. I'll put it on my expense account.
But how did you know about it?
The menu. You shouldn't have left it. It was very careless of you. I have acquisitive eyes.
Do you always open other people's mail?
Mm-hmm. Every chance I get. Say, did you get a load of the female impersonator they've got following you?
No.
Well, let's duck her and get down to business. Hey, Mac, turn left on the next street, then right up the alley.
Okay.
Mean anything to you?
Oh, a lot of things.
Something to go on?
I'm not sure.
What does he mean in there about the doctor and the ampules?
It's medicine he needs. He has a bad heart.
How bad?
Bad enough. I just found out. He's got to have these pills, and he can't get them anywhere. The police have seen to that.
Yeah, squeeze play. That Ferris is smart. Will he die?
I don't know. I spoke to his doctor. It isn't serious, only under certain conditions.
Oh. Yeah, explain. The police will probably read this note, so I can't tell you where I'll be. But if you think back, you'll know where to find me.
What am I, a mind reader?
Well, it gives you a clue in this next line. I'll be out in the open under the sun in a place like the one where I first lost you.
There is no first in things like these.
This is kind of obscure. Does he always talk to you like this?
No, it's our first murder.
You know, Mrs. J, your husband's a pretty clever guy at that. No, you don't think so, but he is. He's testing you. He's asking you to admit that your marriage is a failure and that it's your fault. He's saying that he understands you, but that you don't understand him.
Now, listen, Mr. Leggett of the Graphic. I've had just about enough of the all-wise male. In the past 10 hours, I've met 3 men. 3 men who all put together haven't known Frank for 1 fraction of the length of time I have. Yet they all know him better than I do. Well, along the way, I found out a few things myself. I found out how Frank Johnson really feels about me. That at the first chance, his first excuse, he took off, ran. That he didn't even think enough of me to confide in me that he was ill. Then at the store, in the faces of those mannequins, I saw what he really sees in me. All right, it's okay if that's the way he feels about it, but if he wants his ampules, he'll have to come out of hiding and get them.
What did you have for breakfast? Cigarette and coffee?
Cigarette.
I thought so. Take us over to Lancey's on Powell.
Lancey's? Okay.
This place has the best waffles in town. Butter in every little square. View's always better on a full tummy. How about another one?
Oh, no thanks.
Now that I've got you softened up, Mrs. J, there's something that I have to tell you. You have to find your husband. No, not for the money, I promise you, or my story, but for yourself. He's challenged you. You've got to accept it or admit he's right.
I really would like to find him, if only I could decipher the riddle in his letter.
Together we can do it. That letter's like drawing a graph. One line is to trace his movements from last night. The other leads back into the past. But you have to remember, where they cross, that's where your husband is.
You need a manicure.
So I do. You know, this is the first time in my life I ever insisted on helping a woman find her husband.
That I believe. By the way, what do people call you besides Leggett of the Graphic?
Oh, people that like me call me Danny Boy.
Okay, Danny Boy. Fisherman's Wharf. Frank used to come here a lot. I remember once he did a watercolor of a boat. A fisherman admired it, so Frank just gave it to him. Not to be outdone, the fisherman gave Frank a big swordfish. I made a remark about the joys of living by the barter system, and we had a bitter quarrel. But it certainly wasn't the first one.
Do you think Frank was referring to a quarrel when he said, where I first lost you?
What else? Another one started up here on Telegraph Hill. Frank did a canvas of the harbor from here that I thought was wonderful. When I told him so, he insinuated that my taste in art ran to calendars. I said my taste was my own, and I wanted the paint. So he gave it to me. But he signed it, Eleanor's husband. Without telling him, I entered in the contest they were having here at the art gallery. The oil by Eleanor's husband won first prize, $500. But do you think Frank was pleased when he found out? Oh, no. He refused the money and withdrew the painting. said he wasn't ready yet.
Sounds pretty stubborn.
Stupidly stubborn. I wonder if he ever really wanted to be successful. Soon after that, he took the job at Hart and Winston's.
You know, the only thing we know for sure is that Frank was at the Oriental Gardens last night. While we're in the neighborhood, let's drop in.
Yeah, he sat around the dressing room until we came down to do the 1 o'clock show. Then he said he was going to make a phone call.
Then Frank wrote the letter.
He said to get in touch with you, that he was going to send the letter to a store, care of Mr. Mavis.
Haven't I seen you someplace before?
Shouldn't be surprised. I've been there.
But didn't he say what he was going to do or where he might go?
I didn't want to pump him. Say, why don't you try Sullivan?
Who's Sullivan?
He's a grand Mick, runs a bar across the street. Come on, I'll show you. You can go down the back stairs.
Now I know where I've seen you before. Last night.
Oh, sure, I was in with Mrs. Johnson.
No, I mean the picture that Frank drew.
Picture? What picture? Of me?
Well, it looks something like you. You know how Frank's always drawing pictures.
Did he say who this man was?
No, he didn't. I wonder if I should have told the cops about it. Oh, well, they'll be back. The man that was in said so.
Susie, quit yakking.
Do you still have the picture? Maybe I could run it in the paper.
Yeah, it's upstairs in my dressing room. I better keep it, though.
Hey, Leggett, are you sure you want to help find Frank?
Say, don't forget that plug in the paper about us. We can sure use it. Okay, take it from the top. I've got to see our agent.
Heard about this place for years. Never been here before.
What do you have, folks? You hungry? Specialty today, corned beef and cabbage, or egg foo young.
No food.
Gin over rocks for the lady and old-fashioned for me. I think I'll call a paper and see if anything's broken. You can get more out of him alone anyway.
So why don't you wear a hat?
I look funny in hats.
You know, you're right.
What is it? No, I didn't drop a nickel.
Yes, Mrs. Johnson. Frank was in here last night, just before closing time.
Did he say where he was going?
No, he didn't. Just borrowed $10 is all. Maybe I should tell you. There was a couple of fellas in here this morning asking about Frank. Fellas that you couldn't very well say, mind your own business to. Is he in some sort of trouble, Mrs. Johnson?
Some. He didn't come home last night.
They're all alike. I've been looking for mine for 3 years.
I'm glad I finally met you, Mom. I often wondered what kind of a woman Frank was married to. Not that I imagined he was too easy to live with, being so quiet and moody and strange at times. For instance, now look at this picture. Look at the date he put on it. Frank painted this for me about 6 months ago. It was on St. Patrick's Day. But look at the date on it. March 17, 1947. Well, I suppose it's an artist's privilege.
March 17th, that's Frank's birthday. 1947. We spent the day on the beach at Cypress Point. Then we suddenly decided we had to see the sunset from the top of the mark. So we drove to San Francisco. We had a car then. We had champagne cocktails and watched the sunset over the Golden Gate. After all, it was Frank's birthday and St. Patrick's. We had a beautiful dinner at Andre's and Café Diablo at Amigos. Then we drove back to Carmel in the softest moonlight I've ever known.
Ah, there's nothing like being young and in love. And daft.
To boot.
What?
Daft, to boot.
Well, I guess people are entitled to do crazy things on their birthday.
This year we didn't. I went to a movie. Frank came down here and painted that picture.
Now I know what Frank meant when he said someone should have been in that picture with him. I have a notion if your husband could have seen your face when you were telling about that birthday party in 1947, he'd have painted you right smack in the middle of that picture with his arms around you.
Ah, sorry I was so long.
Oh, Mr. Leggett of the graphic, Mr. Sullivan. He's helping me look for Frank.
Hi. Freshen up a little, will you? Now, hold the garbage. You?
So I'm fine.
Get something?
Something I hadn't counted on.
What?
Frank still loves me.
It's a big help.
I think so.
If it'll help any, Frank asked me how early the Army and Navy store is open. The one that's down on the Embarcadero.
No, he's getting smart. He's changed his clothes. What do you say we cover it? Oh, I'm sorry I was so rude a moment ago, but it's always discouraging to hear a wife say that her husband loves her.
What do you write? Comic strips?
Never more serious in my life. What's the damages?
Oh, it's on the house. I hope you find him, Mrs. Johnson.
Thanks.
It's no use looking, honey. Once they're gone, they're gone.
How did it happen?
I was walking along and she almost hit me. She must have fell from the Oriental roof garden up there.
Who is she?
She's one of the dancers from the show.
Maybe a drink, Sammy? It helps sometimes.
No, thanks.
Hi, Sammy. Let him alone, can't you? I just heard about it. I'm sorry.
I can't understand it, Inspector. Susie was happy. We were doing great. There was no reason for it.
Sometimes we don't know what makes people tick, even the ones closest to us.
I just can't believe she killed herself.
Well, maybe she didn't.
Inspector, how
Well,
else?
it could have been robbery. She might have surprised somebody in the dressing room. Did you check her stuff, see if anything was missing?
No.
Well, do it now.
We've been through almost all of these places, and we still haven't found a lead on Frank. Mind if I look at this coat?
That's a man's coat.
Mind if I look at it?
Say $1.
That's Frank's coat. Where did you get it?
None of your business.
But that's my husband's coat.
No, it ain't. It's mine. Fella came in here and traded that coat and $4 for a pea jacket and a cap.
When?
When I opened up this morning.
Where'd he go?
How do I know? I just sell stuff. I don't watch people. Shut the door as you go out.
Look.
Well, wouldn't you know? There he is, just like nothing had happened. Frank.
I beg pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I never knew there were so many land-going sailors in the world. All of them wearing pea jackets and seamen's caps. Beat, huh?
Mm-hmm. I might as well admit it. I can't remember. No thanks.
There's not much sun left to find him under.
If you think back, he said in his letter, you'll know where to find me. Danny, maybe if I'm alone, I can figure this out. I've got to go home anyway and feed the dog. He's been locked up all day.
Oh, sure. I could meet you later someplace. How about picking me up at the corner of Montgomery and Union Streets when you're ready? It's not much out of your way.
All right. I'll meet you there in an hour.
Uh-oh. Looks like your shadow's finally caught up with you.
Are you tired as I am? I beg your pardon. Come on, there's no need in spending 2 cab fares. We might as well go together.
But, well...
Oh, come on, at least you'll have someone to talk to. As a taxpayer, I thank you.
Hello, Rembrandt. I'll be with you in a minute.
Hi.
What, you again? Who let you in?
Landlord, do you mind?
Oh, no. Make yourself at home. I love having cops move in on me.
Where's the letter? Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. I mean the letter your pal picked up at Hart and Winston's this morning. I want it.
He's all knows all, except where Frank is and who the killer is. Why don't you go back to jail or wherever it is you live and leave me alone?
Oh, no. The merry-go-round's over. This case is going cold on me, and you're the only live thing in it. So from now on, I'm sticking with you.
That's just peachy. Oh, I'm bushed.
You ought to be. You covered a lot of territory today. My men are bushed, too. You should be more considerate. Can you make anything out of this letter? It's pretty cryptic.
Not yet, but I'm working on it.
It sounds like a guy in love.
You think so?
Yeah. I'll be out in the open, under the sun, in a place like the one where I first lost you. That kind of lays it right in your lap. Doesn't it mean anything to you?
I wish it did.
I'm glad you're not bringing me my medicine.
Oh, don't worry. I'll find it.
And I'll be right there with you when you do. Where you go, I go.
Would you insist upon going with me if I walk the dog?
I walked him. Anyway, there's a man out front, one in back, and one on the roof.
Fine. I'm staying right here, then.
So am I. We'll just wait till your husband comes to you, or you can't stand the strain any longer, and go to him.
Look, Mr. Ferris, maybe you were right in some of the things you said. Today I discovered a lot about Frank I never knew before.
In one day, what you couldn't find out in 4 years?
I guess I was the one that was mixed up. A lot of it's my fault anyway. I haven't been much of a wife.
Well, that's quite an admission from you, Mrs. Johnson.
Please, you've got to give me a chance to see Frank alone and give him his medicine. Then if he wants to come in and testify, that's up to him. But it's got to be his choice. I won't try to influence him one way or the other. Whatever he does is all right with me. But you've got to let me see him alone first.
I believe you, and I'd like to help you, but I'm a cop. If Frank keeps on running, I'll have no witness to say nothing of a job.
He's hungry. Couldn't you have fed him, too?
I couldn't figure out how to work the can opener. Can I use your phone? Hello, Paris. Anything come in? Keep it going till we get results. I think we're getting warm. Shaw there? Put him on.
Sorry, Rembrandt. It's the only thing I can think of. Mr. Ferris.
Yeah?
I'm worried about Rembrandt. He was so hungry, and now he won't touch his food.
That's funny.
And his nose is so hot. Maybe I'd better take him to the vet.
I'll take him. I like dogs.
Oh, thank you.
Get your shoes.
His temperature is normal. In fact, he seems to be in perfect health.
But I'm worried about him, Doctor. He won't eat.
Maybe he isn't hungry.
Perhaps he should stay here for a few days for observation. May I take a look at your exercise yard?
Oh, yes, right out that door across the hall.
And, Doctor, see if you can't coax him to eat something.
Doctor, I wish you'd look at Emmeline.
I'm not the doctor. I'm here for treatment myself.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, your wife thinks you ought to leave the dog for observation.
That woman's not my wife.
Ferris was there when I got back. He knew about Frank's letter.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I knew he'd check that.
Danny, I've been thinking. Why did Frank send it to Hart and Winston?
He didn't want it intercepted.
Why not leave it with Sammy Chung, then? Or give it to anybody he knew who'd bring it to me? Why Mavis at the store?
You mean you think there's a reason, something you missed?
Yes, something I didn't see, something I overlooked.
Driver, take us to Hart and Winston.
Okay.
Weary, bitter, cynical. Fresh, eager, and hopeful.
The two Eleanors.
Now I remember. One day on the beach at Carmel, just after we were married, Frank made a mermaid out of sand. It was supposed to be me. And a big wave came up and washed it away. And he said, well, I've lost you. And I said, you'll never lose me, Frank. I won't let you. That's what he meant in the letter. It wasn't a quarrel.
This means something to you. You know where he is?
I'll take you there.
Inspector Ferris wants to see you.
Why?
Look, he wants to see you.
Where?
Later.
I'm sorry to have to ask you to do this, Mrs. Johnson. This man was found in an alley behind a gin mill on the Embarcadero. He'd been brutally beaten to death. He wasn't wearing a trench coat, but he was wearing a seaman's cap and jacket. From what I remember of your husband, it could be him. I'm not sure. So I'll have to ask you to make positive identification. Let her alone. There goes the Freeman case. 2 witnesses, 2 dead men.
That's the way it goes sometimes. Eleanor, anything that I could say would just be words.
Danny, that wasn't Frank. For a quick moment, I thought it was, and I felt things I didn't know I could feel. What was I holding out for? Why didn't I learn to understand you? Why don't we give freely of ourselves when we can? If only I had another chance, I thought. Then I saw it wasn't Frank, and I fainted.
Congratulations on your performance.
But it wasn't an act. I really did faint.
Where is he?
At the amusement park at the beach.
You were there when it happened. Why can't you talk?
That Johnson dame's a smart cookie.
Yeah.
I wonder where she got the idea of passing that stiff off as her husband.
Somebody had to pass him off.
Sure. The guy she identified was a second mate off a tanker, just been paid off. Somebody rolled him for his dough.
Why wasn't I told?
The fingerprint report just came.
Kick me for a knucklehead. Get down to the taxi stand, check and find out where they took her.
$1.80, sir. Hey, Mac, watch my cab. Will they want to get a hamburger?
Okay, bud.
Okay, put this on right away.
All units in the Bay Area, be on the lookout for one yellow cab, number 323. License number in the 7 column. 49 Frank 762. Left Hall of Justice, approximately 6:30 p.m. this date.
Right down there beyond that railing at the sand sculpture. He's been waiting for me all day, thinking I wouldn't remember. I almost didn't.
No.
What is it?
I couldn't talk to him there. There's too many people around. I couldn't get the kind of story I want. I know where I can meet him, but nobody about it.
Oh, look at the sand sculpture. I had an uncle that used to make statues, only he made them out of ice.
A small donation for the artist will be appreciated.
Here you are.
Thank you.
Yeah? This thing's beginning to boil. We'll be right down. We're going to the beach. Come on, Rembrandt. What my eyes miss, your nose will smell. Come on.
I don't like this place.
It's a good spot. I used to come here with a girl when I was a kid.
It's more frightening than romantic.
That's the way love is when you're young. Life is when you're older.
I'll tell Frank where you are.
You sure you want to start over again with your husband?
I'm sure I want to try. I'm not sure what he wants.
Supposing he doesn't want to.
Then I'll let him go. He'll never know how I feel about him.
You think people can turn back, and you're going to try. I know better.
You're too cynical. It's your profession.
It's too late now to change my profession. Okay. Go ahead, send him here.
I'll bring him.
No.
What's the matter with you? Don't you still want the story?
I guess I gotta have the story, but my way. You send him back. I want to see him alone first. If you want the money, I talk to him alone.
All right, if that's the way you want it, I'll send him.
get over there and cover the pier side.
Yes, right, sir.
You get up there. Make like a gate. If Johnson tries to come through, arrest him.
What charge?
For failing to curb his dog in a public park. I'm coming in from the other end of the pier.
Hey! How are we doing?
771.
Huh? That's better than I do on some Sundays. Thanks for taking care of things. No, it's the first day I've had off in years. You know what I've been doing all day? Riding back and forth between here and Sausalito on my old ferry boat.
Look, I can't stick around here anymore. I've got to get out of here. Say, Cap, I hate to ask you, but
Won't take you very far. Here's the keys to my car and the ticket. Find it over in the parkway. Tank's full.
Thanks, Cap. I'll get it back to you.
You better. Beg pardon, lady?
Where's Frank? What happened to him?
Who?
Frank Johnson.
Never heard of him. Sorry, Mrs. Johnson, but I had to be careful. Frank waited all day and said he couldn't wait any longer. So I loaned him my car about 5 minutes ago.
Where'd you go?
Over at the parking lot at the other end of the Midway.
Thank you.
I lost a bet with myself.
Did you want to win? As ordered, delivered. Late as usual, but delivered.
Let's get out of the light. Keep an eye out for us, will you, Cap?
Why didn't you tell me about your heart?
Oh, you know, doctors, they make a big deal of everything. Guess it was a silly thing to do, writing that corny note.
It sounded like you'd had a couple of drinks.
I had. By the time I finished the drinks and the letter, I was a pretty sad character. Well, I can't hide out here forever.
Would you want to?
I can get a job in another town. I'm a pretty fair window trimmer.
Pretty good artist, too. We've got to pull out of this.
We?
Yes. If this excitement hasn't killed you, I'm sure I can't. We'll get out of town where you'll be safe.
Can't go very far. I've got $7.71. Borrowed that from the captain.
There's a fellow named Leggett, a reporter from the Graphic. He helped me find you. He's promised to give you $1,000 for an exclusive.
A lot of money for the little I can tell.
Well, his paper must think it's worth it, so why look a gift horse in the mouth?
But where is he?
Over by the roller coaster. Come on, I'll show you.
Hey, you, turn around. You know an artist named Frank Johnson?
Who?
Frank Johnson. An artist. Did a sketch of you. I saw it.
Could be, but I don't remember. Oh, gee, I just work here. Used to be a ferry boat captain, though.
Now, wait.
Over there, under the roller coaster. Go all the way at the end of the walk and duck in under the scaffolding.
Okay. Here's a ticket, keys for the captain's car. It's parked down at that end of the Midway.
Yes, I know.
Well, I'll meet you there.
No, I'd better bring it here. You've got to stay out of sight. I can't let anything happen to you now.
Nothing can happen to me now.
Remember that man shot at you?
How did you know? That wasn't in the paper.
Ferris told me. Nobody else knows it.
No, it's the guy that fired the shots.
You'd better go now.
I'll be back as soon as I can.
Dance has just got word for you to call in. Johnson hasn't passed me yet.
Oh, I haven't got time to talk to him now. That's McDonald and Murray's case.
But he says he has some information you wanted. Hold on.
Hello, Inspector. Remember you asked me to check all of Susie's things to see if anything was missing?
Sammy, I'm busy. I'll see you tomorrow.
I just wanted to tell you that nothing was missing, except that sketch that Frank drew on the back of a menu.
Sketch of who?
I don't know. But Susie said it looked like that newspaper man that was in the club this afternoon with Mrs. Johnson. I'd got notice he was going to give us won't do Susie any good now.
What happened? Where's Frank?
He's on his way to meet you, but Ferris is here with the dog.
Ferris. But that stiff in the morgue was a plant. He's a pretty sharp fellow. Let's get off the Midway. Come on, now, never look forced in here.
But these things make me sick.
Stay in your seats, folks. The second ride is half fare.
I'll never ride this thing again.
Ride up, lady. All right, Eddie, take it away. Don't stand up in your seats, folks. This is the greatest thrill of your lifetime.
The ride only takes a couple of minutes. Besides, when we get to the top, we can see if Frank's there.
Oh, he must be there by now. I don't see him.
Where is he?
I don't know.
Hey, buddy, where do you think you're going? Second ride is only half fare. Take it
You stay on for another ride. I'll go see what's happened to Frank.
I want to go with you.
No, with Ferris outside, together we'd be too conspicuous.
But, Danny...
Ferris traced you here. If he found you, someone else could follow you, too.
Second ride, half fare.
Radio go again.
Okay, Eddie, take it away.
Forget it. Someone shot at him last night. They tried to kill him once, they'll do it again. Forget it. Someone shot at him last night. They tried to kill him once, they'll do it again.
Nobody knows that except your husband, the killer, and now you. Nobody knows that except your husband, the killer, and now you.
Right in your way!
Frank Johnson.
Yes. Is that you, Mr. Leggett? Be careful, there's a loose plank over here.
I know.
Why don't you get it over with?
I don't have to, Frank. You got a bad heart. You can't stand tension. You're gonna kill yourself.
Second ride. It's only half fare.
What's your hurry, Mrs. Johnson?
I had to do it, Mrs. Johnson. Let's leg it down there. Your husband's safe.
Where's Frank?
Out there on the midway.
Doing? Not a thing. You know, it's getting me down eating in these hamburger joints.
One thing you gotta learn, eat where the truck drivers eat. They know the right spot.
Say, I saw a funny thing up the road just now. Good-looking dame sitting in a car all alone.
Yeah, what was she doing?
That's just it. She wasn't doing nothing, just sitting there.
I got a rule about women. If they ain't breaking the law, let them alone. I didn't mean to disturb you, miss. Just wanted to be sure everything was okay. Excuse me, lady, but are you sure you're all right? How is she?
Luckier than she deserves.
I just checked on her up the road. She was acting kind of strange then. I better call that ambulance.
I doubt if it's serious, and I'm as good a doctor as you'll find at this time of night. Let's take her inside. Well, no bones broken. Bruises, that's all. I think you better rest here for the night. I'm a little surprised. You're a beautiful young woman. You've been in an accident. You haven't asked for a mirror. Perhaps that fits with the way you were driving tonight. Perhaps you find the idea of living not very attractive.
Is that any of your business, Doctor?
As a matter of fact, it is my business. I happen to be a psychiatrist.
I don't need a psychiatrist.
You won't mind if I disagree with you. Here's a beautiful young woman, apparently well-to-do, apparently in good physical condition, who just doesn't care what happens to her. This is interesting. Not altogether unusual, but interesting. Of course, there are the obvious deductions.
It's my life, Doctor, and I prefer to run it myself.
And you don't want anyone to see inside it. Perhaps you don't even want to take a look yourself. Many women haven't the courage to face themselves, so they look for escape in one excitement after another. Half my patients are like that.
But I'm not one of your patients. If you tell me how much I owe you, I'll be going back to town now.
Very well. I'll drive you to the station. Miss Damien, you're an intelligent woman, not an idiot. Will you promise me one thing? When you get ready to throw yourself off Brooklyn Bridge, will you come and see me first?
Goodbye, Doctor.
Just what is our trouble? That's what I want to know.
Our trouble is Miss Damien.
Miss Damien again.
She's as pretty as a picture and as stubborn as a mule. But this time, there's a lot more involved than just her hand.
Come Come in, Miss Damien.
We were just ripping you up back a little bit.
So I gathered.
There's nothing personal. It's about Mr. Cortland.
Cortland? Oh, yes. He runs a jewelry store.
He owns Cortland and Company. London, Paris, Fifth Avenue. You may remember him as one of our biggest advertisers.
Oh, what Shirley wants to say...
I know what Shirley wants to say. I always know what Shirley wants to say. He wants to know why I killed the art layout on Mr. Cortland's famous jewels.
And I understand the April number goes to press without it.
That's right. In the first place, it's no art layout. It's a press agent's dream.
But the result is we stand a good chance of losing the Cortland account.
Now, am I running my department or am I not?
I haven't said anything, Miss Damien.
Well, I had a talk with Cortland. He was decidedly acid about it.
I'm not interested in Cortland. But if this magazine is going to submit to advertisers' blackmail, I'd like to know about it.
Now, please, Miss Damien.
If that's the policy, Mr. Cranish, you better get someone else to take my place.
Please, Miss Damien, just a moment. Gentlemen, if you don't mind, I'll talk to you later.
I thought I should bring this to your attention.
You can't blame us for trying, Mr.
No, of course not. No harm done, gentlemen. Madeleine, you've got yourself all worked up. Come, sit down. I'll get you a drink.
No, thanks. I don't want one.
No? What is this private blackmail of yours? Threatening to quit in order to win an argument.
Oh, I'd just as soon quit. I mean it.
Now, tell me, what's happened? You're all wound up. What's bothering
Oh,
you?
nothing's bothering me.
You know I don't want you to quit. I won't go into my personal feelings, but you are the best art editor we've ever had. How's the insomnia?
Oh, I found some new sleeping pills. Red ones this time.
Red pills to put you to sleep. White pills to wake you up. Doesn't sound very sensible, my dear. What are you doing this evening?
Dining with Freddie Fancher.
Oh, Freddie again.
Oh, I couldn't get out of it, Victor. We're using some of his drawings next month. But it'll be the last time, I promise.
Madeleine, you're a bundle of lies. A very lovely bundle. Beautifully tied together.
I'm trying to be honest, but you won't believe me, will you?
No, my dear. Because I don't really think you believe yourself.
Why do you have to go back to that bore, Freddie Fancher? You haven't even given me a chance to make love to you.
You've been doing all right.
You know something? It's awfully hard making love to a woman who makes more money than I do. It'd be much easier if you made love to me.
Would it?
Oh. You're trying to give me the brush off, are you?
Well, finally, we understand each other.
Well, there you are, Freddie. There's your girl and no bones broken. I'll see you at the office, Madeleine. I'd join you if somebody asked me.
Nobody's asking.
Fair enough.
Why do you have to dance with that pollywog?
Look, I've told you not to drink.
I always drink, particularly when I'm with you.
Oh, am I that hard to take sober?
You're a voluptuous pain in the neck.
I'm going home.
You're not going to walk out on me. Come on, be yourself.
I've told you I'm going to leave early.
But you can't leave me just sitting here in the snow. I'm mad about you. In my own foul way.
Good night, Freddie. Any chance of getting a cab, Jim?
I'll try, Miss Damien. Oh, Miss Damien, here's someone I know you're anxious to meet. Mr. Felix Cortland, one of our most prominent advertisers.
How do you do, Miss Damien?
How do you do? Mr. Garrett is the soul of tact, don't you think?
He's just been telling me all about you.
Oh, I hope he wasn't that blunt.
Oh, you needn't worry. I always form my own conclusions. Can I give you a lift anywhere? My car's just outside.
No, thank you. They're getting me a cab.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
I'm sorry, Miss Damien. There isn't a cab around.
Oh, how long do you think it'll be?
That's hard to say.
Are you sure you don't want a lift?
Well, there doesn't seem to be any alternative.
Good night, Mr. Garrett.
Good night, Mr. Cortland.
I wasn't very polite, was I?
Neither was Garrett, for that matter.
Oh, he always enjoys uncomfortable situations.
You still feel uncomfortable?
No. Frankly, I don't.
Good, nor do I.
You know, you're not at all what I imagined.
No?
No. The big international jeweler.
I happen to inherit a business that runs itself very nicely. As a matter of fact, you don't look like an art editor. More like a work of art.
That layout on your jewels is still a wretched piece of copy.
I can only admire your good taste.
And I'm still not going to...
I wouldn't try and persuade you for the world.
Mr. Cortland, I think you're a very dangerous man.
I only wish it were so. The truth is, I'm a very ordinary one.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to give you my address.
It's my fault. I forgot to ask you. Won't you come in for a minute?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, but you really must see those jewels you've been insulting. They're much handsomer than the photographs. I'll need you in about 15 minutes.
But I said I wasn't coming in.
Oh, yes, so you did. Let me take your wrap.
Well, I'm only going to stay a minute, you know.
Of course.
What a wonderful room.
I've had this place a long time. In fact, I'm pretty disgustingly rich.
Don't you find that rather pleasant?
Oh, it's not so hard to take once you get the hang of it. I think I know all the troubles that come with money. And all the pleasures. Well, have you got me all figured out?
Only what I see here. Good books, fine pictures. Wonder if you ever look at them.
Oh, but I do. I'm a lonely bachelor, and I spend hours here all by myself poring over old manuscripts.
You don't expect me to believe that, do you? Didn't my father paint that?
Was Stephen Damien your father?
Uh-huh.
That's very interesting.
Is it?
I remember when he came here to paint that picture of my mother. Everybody was fascinated by him, especially Mother. Father ended by chasing him out of the house.
I'm afraid that's the way it usually ended. My father was very much in love with life.
That's a Hungarian custom, isn't it? Not exclusively Hungarian.
Weren't you going to show me your jewels?
Oh, yes, of course. I'd quite forgotten. That's the reason we came in here, wasn't it? You ought to feel very flattered, Miss Damien. This safe is one of my darkest secrets. You really want to see those jewels?
Not particularly. I can't tell a brilliant from a diamond.
Not one person in 100 can. But then very few people are intelligent enough to admit it.
Thank you.
How about another drink?
No, thanks.
You know, you need relaxing. Lots of relaxing. I can hear your nerves snapping like rubber bands.
I'm not nervous at all, see?
You're a very curious mixture. A highly moral voice.
That's not me, that's my mind.
A man's mind, I'd say.
Why not? I do a man's work.
And desperate eyes. Eyes full of shadows.
Insomnia does that.
Does it?
Dean, Miss Damien, give you her secretary.
Miss Damien's office? No, Mr. Cortland, she's not here yet. Shall I have her call you? Yes, Mr. Cortland.
Where's Glamour, Puss?
She hasn't come in yet.
Well, who sent these?
Mr. Felix Cortland.
Mr. Cortland. It's very interesting. She never misses, does she?
Mm-hmm. Jealous.
If I'd given it any thought, I could have predicted it.
Gladys, I won my bet. She's got a new boyfriend.
I guess those dames gotta have new excitement all the time.
Yeah, here today, gone tomorrow. Personally, I don't see what she sees in it all.
Is that any concern of yours?
No, Miss Damien.
I didn't hire you to gossip about my private life.
No, Miss Damien.
Go get your money. You're through.
Damien, come in yet? What's the matter, sweetheart?
Miss Damien fired me.
Fired you? What for?
He heard me talking about Mr. Cortland.
Cortland, eh? Don't you worry, baby. I'll fix that. I understand you fired June.
That's right.
What's the idea?
I don't like people to gossip about me.
You don't, eh?
No, I don't.
Well, it's pretty late to be thinking about a thing like that, and it's a rotten trick to take it out on your secretary.
Get out of here.
You don't think your life is a secret, do you? Boys were betting 8 to 5 this morning that the Cortland layout would be in the next issue.
You're disgusting.
Madeleine, why don't you get wise to yourself? Everybody else is. One romance after another. That's your whole life, and you adore it.
Get out.
You try to dress it up with pretty words, but you don't fool anybody. They know what you are, and you'll never change.
Get out!
You don't care because it's too much fun.
It isn't true. It isn't true.
I'm a little surprised. Here's a beautiful woman who just doesn't care what happens to her. Many women haven't the courage to face themselves, so they look for escape in one excitement after another. Perhaps you find the idea of living not very attractive.
Lady, if you want to kill yourself, why don't you try the fridge?
I'm glad I was right. An intelligent woman, not an idiot. Sit down. That's it. Now, if you feel like talking, just go ahead and talk. You're afraid, aren't you? Well, it's our job to find out why. To explore the shadows and throw light on what we find there. Then you'll be able to see yourself clearly and face yourself honestly. When you can do that, you won't be afraid anymore.
I was living with my father. Mother had left him before we came to America. I was 10. And to me, the way he lived seemed romantic and wonderful. He was a successful painter, and women adored him. He went his own way and did what he pleased.
Just as you've been trying to do?
I suppose so.
But why? Did it make him so very happy?
Oh, I was certain he was the happiest man in the world. Until he killed himself.
And you couldn't understand why he did it. You understand now?
I think I do.
Did you ever do any painting yourself?
I used to.
Why'd you give it up?
Oh, didn't pay enough. And besides, I didn't want to be like my father. I wanted my own life.
And have you been living your own life?
Of course I have.
The kind of life you really want?
I don't know. I don't know.
Don't you think you've been hiding from yourself? Did you ever try and discover the person you really were, deep down underneath?
I never cared to. I'm not so sure I do now.
In that case, I'm afraid I can't help you. But of course, that's entirely up to you. Shall we go on then?
I was doing what I wanted to do. Paying my own way and making my own rules. Nobody was hurt.
Nobody but yourself. And it didn't really make you happy, did it? Wasn't that because down underneath you knew there was something missing? Something important?
I suppose so.
That would worry you, wouldn't it? And then you would drug yourself with the excitement of more excitement. Oh, I know the pattern, Miss Damien. You're suffering from a disease of the times. A neurotic malady as commonplace as chronic alcoholism. Suppose for a moment that you were an alcoholic. They're much the same, you know. Unsure of themselves underneath. and seeking reassurance from new excitement. Instead of getting at the cause, the drunkard solves his problem by taking another drink. This, of course, is no solution. And eventually, we find him sprawled hopelessly at a bar, without the strength or even the desire to save himself.
I can't go on with this. You're not helping me. You're insulting me.
You've been insulting yourself, Miss Damien. Insulting your body and insulting your soul. Your life hasn't been gay and glamorous at all. It's just been muddled and senseless. You know that now. And if you really want to change it, you can start right away. Now it's up to you.
You can have my apartment, Ethel. The rent's paid till the end of the month.
Darling, I feel like a vulture, wheeling over your head.
I'm not in, whoever it is.
Miss Damien's office. No, she still hasn't come in, Mr. Cortland. Well, I don't know exactly. Later in the day,
Did he hang up?
Yes, good. Let me call him back, darling. You may be sorry later.
Everything in this pile returned without comment. This I would ask to see more of their work, and these you may be able to use.
But you haven't given me your new address.
I'm not giving it to anyone.
Hello, Madeleine. Beautiful, would you mind popping out for a minute?
That's just 60 seconds. You better talk fast.
Madeline, I'm on a jam. I've got to raise some money. I need about $5,000.
What do you expect me to do about it?
Well, I thought you might talk to Cortland. I'm sure he'd let you have it if you ask him nicely.
You're really quite a rat, aren't you?
Look, Madeline, I'm in debt up to here. I only make $100 a week, and you know I can't live on that. $5,000 doesn't mean a thing to Cortland.
You better get out of here before I lose my temper.
You're forcing me to say things that I don't want to say, but if you're going to act cold and virtuous about it, you'll hear them. Suppose I tell Cranish.
Tell him what?
About Cortland. You know, you've got a very nice job here, but you won't have it very long if I tell Cranish. I don't want to tell him, but... What's so funny?
As a blackmailer, you are pitiful. Go on, tell him. Tell him what a rat I am, and you are, and he is. Go on, use my phone if you want, and my desk, and my office. I'm through with all of them.
Boulevard magazine. No, Miss Damien hasn't been back. Just a moment, please.
I'm sorry, she doesn't work here anymore. You might try at her home. Waldorf Apartments.
Waldorf Apartments? Miss Damien? Oh, no, she gave up her apartment. Why don't you try the post office?
Dalton? Damien. Here, Richard Caleb, 137 West 50th Street.
Well, I've nothing to do except that Miss Damien has taken my advice as a doctor. She'd been living in an area of infection, and she's removed herself from it.
I take it you consider me part of the general contamination.
Well, you've come here for information, not diagnosis. I usually charge a fee for insulting people.
I'm willing to pay for data of any kind.
Yes, I gathered that. But I've nothing for sale.
I suppose you're being very ethical, but I'd like to talk to Madeleine. In your presence, if you wish.
Miss Damien is living under a different name in a different world. She told me to tell you, if you inquired, that she was busy growing a new soul. Now, would you please keep off the grass? Goodbye, Mr. Cortland.
Goodbye, Doctor. Doesn't it ever worry you, playing the almighty in this fashion?
Not particularly. I'm used to it.
How's it look?
It's better than torn wallpaper.
So you think I've talent, then?
You'll do better after you get the hang of it.
I only hope the new tenant will like it.
Well, he seems awful particular. He's a floor walker at Macy's.
Oh, well, you can always give it back to me.
He'll never sell it, you know. Take my advice and try something more cheerful. You know, like flowers and butterflies.
I'll do that. Thank you, Mrs. Geiger.
Thanks. You saved my life.
Is this yours?
Yes. Mrs. Geiger would scalp me if she knew I kept mice in my room.
Well, why do you keep mice in your room?
Pathologist, part of my homework. I really shouldn't bring these fellas out of the lab, but, well, I got kind of attached to this one. Oh, thanks again. Hey. Women are supposed to scream. Aren't you afraid of mice?
Well, no, but next time I'll scream. Good afternoon, Miss Green.
Hello, how's the work going?
Oh, all right, I think.
Yes.
Come in.
Hello.
Hello.
Say, you're an artist, aren't you?
Well, I don't know.
Oh, Mrs. Geiger said yesterday that you were. She's an authority if I ever saw one. I was wondering, could you do a job for me?
Want your portrait painted?
Me? Oh, no. No, nothing like that. I'm doing some research, and it has to be illustrated.
Oh, what do you want me to draw?
Nothing fancy, just blood cells and things.
Sounds fascinating.
Oh, it is, really. You see, it's a lot like... Oh, no, you'd be surprised. It really is fascinating once you get in it. Of course, I'm on a fellowship, and I couldn't pay you very much. Matter of fact, I couldn't pay anything till the first of the month.
That'll be all right.
Oh, fine. Swell. It's all settled then. I'll see you at my place about 6 o'clock.
Oh, but couldn't I?
Oh, sure you can. I just live downstairs. You know, the mousetrap. Oh, by the way, my name is Cousins.
Mine is Dixon.
Very glad to know you, Miss Dixon.
Just what am I drawing? Am I allowed to find out?
Sure. Effect of anti-reticular serum on cell tissue.
That's all I wanted to know.
Oh, say, that's quite good. I'll take it to the lab with me in the morning. Just about ready for the next one.
Do you realize it's 12 o'clock?
Oh?
I haven't had my dinner yet, and you haven't either.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, but well, I got so wound up on this.
So did I, but now I'm hungry.
Well, tell you what let's do. We'll go out and eat.
That's a brilliant idea.
I'll get your coat.
Do you do this all the time?
Only since I got out of the Army. I was lucky to get this job of research. Now I've got to get it finished.
Then what?
Oh, then I go back to Oregon and become the usual respectable small-town doctor.
No mice?
No. No mice. Head colds and belly aches. $5 a visit.
Maybe you'll like it. You'll get some rest.
Oh, I'll get plenty of rest, all right, but I don't think I'll like it.
You folks going out this time of night?
That's right.
We're meeting a few friends at the Busy Bee cafeteria. We don't want to miss the floor show. We'll have to hurry.
See that he eats. He hasn't got any more sense than a goose.
I'll feed him with a spoon.
I got onto it first up in a little town in Germany while I was still in the Army. I'd met a couple of Russian medical officers who were working on anti-reticular, and, well, they were pretty steamed up about it.
Pie, sir?
No, thanks. We got together the first night over a bottle of vodka. But I remember the town was still burning. Well, maybe it was the vodka, but anyhow, we got to talking about anti-reticular, and, well, I guess I got pretty excited.
You mean you speak Russian?
Over a bottle of vodka, anybody speaks Russian. Care for some coffee?
No, thanks, I've milk.
Oh, one, please. At any rate, I promised myself that night that just as soon as the war was over, I was going to do a job of this.
You haven't stopped to eat ever since.
That's an error I'm just about to rectify.
$1 even.
There you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. You, sure you've got everything you want?
Oh, yes, thanks. You know, I don't think you're much of a doctor. Do you call this a sensible diet? Pancakes and pickles?
Well, scientifically, there's two kinds of diets. The kind that doctors prescribe and the stuff they eat themselves.
Oh, but you're always in such a rush. You can't make scientific discoveries that way.
Sure you can. Take Banny. He saw some flies nibbling at a piece of pancreas. Figured out that there must be sugar in it, and in 1 minute he had the idea for insulin.
You know, you're a very lovely girl.
You're not being very scientific, Doctor.
Oh, but I am. It's the very heart of science. It's the truth.
Let's talk about insulin.
Insulin. Come in.
Hello.
Hello. Say, did you buy these new manuscript covers?
Yes, are they all right?
Oh, sure, they're fine. How much they cost?
Oh, nothing at all. Something like 20 cents.
Oh, nothing at all, huh? You know you can buy a pair of good mice for 20 cents?
David, I have some wonderful news. I just sold a picture.
No fooling. Who bought it?
The floor walker downstairs. He said it's almost as good as a photograph.
Well, the man has great taste. Oh, I think it's wonderful. I'm proud of you. And I'm a little proud of myself, too. David Cousins on anti-reticular.
Oh, David, it looks fine. It's important, isn't it? I mean, not just to you, but really important.
Well, it won't cure all the ills of man or beast, but yes. Yes, I think it may be important. And I also think that I better hand it in before I start changing it again. Like to come along?
Oh, could I?
Well, sure. Why not? I think you've been drawing blood cells long enough. It's time now for you to meet one of them face to face.
I hope your text is as good as your illustrations.
I hope so, too, sir. Well, that's that.
You didn't tell him there were your drawings, did you?
I didn't tell him they weren't. Come on, I'll show you my lab.
Coffee.
I wouldn't try and drink it if I were you. Assistant pathologist. Well, this is me. How do you like it?
Oh, I think it's wonderful. But how do you find anything in this place?
Been here for 6 months and I haven't lost anything yet. Doesn't matter anyway. The boss okays my research, I'll be out of here in a week.
Back to Oregon?
Yes, back to Oregon. All that way just to make a living.
Is it as bad as all that?
Oh, what's the use in kidding, Madeleine? I'm so much in love with you, I can't see straight. I haven't done any work in here for days. I just sit around waiting until I can see you.
I know. Because that's just what I do. Wait to see you.
Darling. Oh, darling, I never felt like this about anyone before. Tell me, when did you first know?
Oh, when I first saw you, I think.
Yeah, me too. I'll never forget you standing in that hall with a mouse in your hand. Only I didn't know then what was happening. I thought I had the flu. Will you marry me?
Oh, David.
Well, will you?
We don't know each other. I mean, you don't know me.
Oh, but I do. Of course I know you. Now, what do you want to know about me? David Cousins, M.D., University of Oregon, Captain Medical Corps Reserve, young, healthy, and very much in love. Will you marry me?
Oh, please don't ask me now.
Well, I've got to ask you now. I want to marry you now.
Please give me time, David. I'm all mixed up. I'd like to go home now.
All right.
haven't answered a rather important question I asked you.
I can't say no, because I wouldn't mean it.
Darling.
David, I do love you. Good night, darling.
Good night.
Hadn't you better close the door? A gentleman I hired provided me with your new address and the proper keys.
Suppose someone had seen you. You wouldn't have cared, would you?
I didn't think it mattered. You see, I expected to find you wretched and lonely, grappling with your complexes. Rather naive of me.
Will you please go?
Of course I'll go. But before I do, wouldn't you like to tell me about him?
Why? I'm in love. Now, laugh if you want.
I don't feel like laughing. I've always wondered if it were possible for people like you and me. And you think you've really got it? Love eternal, the fireside, the slippers, the whole thing?
Yes, the whole thing.
I'm very glad for you. And I think I'm a little sad for myself. You haven't told him, have you?
Told him what?
Well, about me, for instance.
Why should I tell him?
You're absolutely right. You shouldn't. Men prefer to keep their illusions, don't they?
Please go.
If you ever need me, you let me know, won't you? And don't call the past too many names.
Don't care what you say. I'm going to marry him just as soon as it can be arranged.
You want to run away from your problem?
I'm not running away.
Are you? You're looking for security from someone else instead of building it within yourself.
But I love him. I can't talk to you if you don't believe me.
Falling in love doesn't cure everything overnight.
What do you mean?
Let's be honest. There's a side of you that hasn't fully changed. Isn't that true? That is true, isn't it?
Yes.
Have you still not told David about yourself?
I couldn't tell him.
You let him fall in love with an illusion, with someone who doesn't exist.
I could never tell him. He might stop loving me.
Isn't that a risk you'll have to take?
You're being very careless about it.
You can't build a lifetime relationship on a lie. If you're really in love, you'll tell him. With the others, it was different. But if you love him...
Will you please stop saying if? How many times must I tell you I love him?
But real love is a sharing. If you're strong enough to face this yourself, you're strong enough to face it with David.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't risk the only happiness I've ever had.
That's up to you, Miss Damien.
Hi. Hello, darling. You're home early, aren't you?
Well, I didn't get fired, if that's what you mean. Dr. Lutz read my paper.
Really? What did he say?
Well, he liked it.
Oh, David, that's wonderful.
The only trouble is he thinks it's so important he wants me to go to Chicago and read it before the convention.
Oh, David, no.
Well, that's not my idea. I don't want to go.
Well, when will you have to leave?
Tonight. Got to catch the 8 o'clock plane.
And when will you come back?
Oh, I don't know, a few days. But I tell you what, as soon as I get back, let's get married. You can get a license in 3 days, and it only takes 15 minutes to get married. You still want to marry me, don't you?
Oh, more than anything in the world.
You know, I'm going to feel kind of silly at that convention. Of course, it's a great honor and all that, but you realize that I'll be talking before some of the biggest men in the field? What's the matter, darling?
Nothing. I was just thinking how I'd feel if you didn't love me.
Oh, don't be silly. Not a chance.
David, could you ever stop loving me?
Oh, that's really a gruesome thought. Of course not.
Even if there was a reason?
The world is bothering you.
Nothing. I just wanted to be sure.
Sure about what?
That you loved me and not an illusion you built up about me.
Scientists can't believe in illusions. I believe in you. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. 4 shirts. I wonder if that'll be enough. Come to think of it, it'll have to be. That's all I've got. Socks? Well, that just about does it. Madeleine, was there something special on your mind? Something that you wanted to tell me?
Just that I love you, that's all.
Write me every day?
Every day.
Hope you miss me. Hope you suffer like a maniac.
I will, I promise.
Oh, gosh, I hate to leave you. You know, I'm going to be jealous.
Jealous of what?
Oh, I don't know. Nobody, everybody. Just jealous.
Darling, I belong to you. Don't you know that? I'm only alive because you love me.
We'll be married the minute I get back.
Well, look who's here. If it isn't Madeleine. How are you? It's been a long time.
David, this is Mr. Garrett. I used to work with him on a magazine.
Howdy,
Garrett? I quit the racket, though. Or perhaps the racket quit me.
Garrett's doing some confidential work for me now. How are you, Miss Dixon?
This is Mr. Cortland, David. Dr. Cuss is my fiancé.
You're a very lucky man, Doctor.
I think so.
Well, goodbye, Miss Dixon. My congratulations to you both.
Oh, thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
I don't believe a minute of it, do you?
Garrett, you're a very cynical man. You don't believe in true love.
You don't think Madeleine does either, do you?
I don't know, but I've always been fascinated by miracles.
Come in.
Telegram for you, Miss Dixon. I thought I'd bring it up myself. I thought it might be important. That news?
He won't be back till Friday.
That's men for you. You never can count on them. Oh, I forgot. A doctor somebody called you, said you were to call Miss Ethel Royce. She's been trying to get in touch with you. Friend of yours?
Yes.
I suppose you got your own reasons, but you ought to get out and see your friends, instead of sitting in this room all day and all night.
Thanks, Mrs. Geiger.
None of my business, mind you.
Ethel, this is Madeleine. Madeleine.
Darling, but this is really a voice from the dead. I pestered that doctor of yours for hours. I just have to talk to you.
Well, what about?
Well, you remember that art supplement, the one you started? Well, I do need your help, dear. I'm in an awful mess.
Sorry, dear. I'll never come into that office again as long as I live.
Oh, but I wouldn't ask you to do that. Just meet me somewhere. It'll only take an hour, I promise.
Well, if it's just the two of us. All right. I'll be there at 5.
Oh, so relieved. We were really desperate. Wonderful. I'm just dying to see you. Bye, dear. She'll do it.
Good. Wonderful thing, professional pride. It never dies. How'd you sound?
Awful. What do you expect?
Too bad.
Victor, I don't want you to be there.
Wouldn't think of spoiling your reunion, my dear.
I don't trust Madeleine, doctor or no doctor. Nor you either, my sweet.
Hello, Miss Damien. Glad to see you back.
Glad to see you, Jim. Hello, Luigi. Is Miss Royce here?
She just came in, Miss Damien. We missed you, Miss Damien. Have you been away?
No, but it's nice to be back just the same. Hello, Ethel.
Darling, you look wonderful. A little pale, but so interesting.
You know, I can't stay very long.
Oh, I understand, dear. We'll get right to work.
The usual, Miss Damien?
Well, I don't know, Carl.
You'd better. Wait till you see the mess I'm in with the supplement. All right, Carl. Darling, I'm just dying to hear what you've been up to. You must tell me everything.
But there's nothing to tell.
Come on, let's go to work.
You're just marvelous, my dear. You made the whole project seem utterly simple and practical.
Not for me, please.
Darling, you used to be able to drink 10 in a row.
I'm out of training.
No one would know it, my dear. You seem just like the old Madeleine again.
It's the surroundings.
What do you say we have dinner and go to a show?
No, really, I've got to stagger home.
Madeleine, my dear, this is a surprise.
Victor, hello.
What good fortune running into you like this? Do you mind?
Don't let us fool you, Madeleine. You heard me making the date with you.
It's true, but I'll deny it. Frankly, I wanted to have a look at you. You look very dashing for a hermit.
Thank you.
We've all missed you desperately, haven't we, Ethel?
As though our little hearts would break.
What about a drink with your old boss?
Please.
Three, whatever it is.
I've got all the data we need on the supplement.
Good. What about the data on Madeleine?
No data. Now, if you'll excuse me, I
You
really
can't go now. Look who you'll run into. He's seen you.
Mr. Garrett no longer graces our staff.
What happened? It got to be utterly gritty.
Say nothing of a slight discrepancy in his accounts. Mr. Garrett believes that the world owes him a gay life, no matter who pays for it.
Well, hello, stranger. How are you?
Wonderful.
Nobody here seems particularly glad to see me.
Should we be?
Oh, well, it's been nice knowing you.
There goes one reason for my ivory tower.
What? Darling, I'm constantly running into men who adore you. Slews of them.
Hated them all. I know what you're thinking. I had an odd way of expressing my distaste.
Not odd, darling. Shall we say just, moody?
Well, here's to memory.
May I speak to Mr. Cortland, please?
Just a moment, sir.
Just a minute. Come in.
Mr. Garrett on the phone, sir.
All right. Hello, Garrett.
I have some interesting news. Do you know who's here? Madeleine.
How considerate of you to call. By the way, I've just been through the stones in my safe, and one's missing. The stone's not terribly important, but you're the only person who knows about my safe, and the fact is you did have my keys for quite a while yesterday.
What are you getting at?
Only that I don't like thieves.
But you're being ridiculous. Let me come over and talk about it.
There's nothing to talk about. I'm taking it up with the police.
But, Cortland, you can't do that.
Mr. Garrett again, sir.
Tell him I've gone out.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cortland has just left.
Are you all right, darling?
Of course I am.
You're not going to disappear again.
Oh, yes. Back to my treetop.
It's raining. Let me drive you home.
Oh, no. Ethel wouldn't approve.
Good luck, my dear, in your treetop.
Bye, darling. Well?
Let's face it, she's a changed woman.
She'll never change, darling. She's just got herself a new set of words, that's all.
Madeleine. Hop in.
No, thanks. I'm waiting for a cab.
Don't be silly. There are no cabs. You'll get drenched.
Please.
I'll drop you off.
I'm going home alone.
Come on, in you get. I hope you didn't get too wet.
Your concern is touching.
Quite a coincidence finding you in the rain.
Is it?
I can't lie to you, especially when there's no point to it. I was informed you were playing hooky.
You're detestable.
I'm really not detestable at all. I happen to be very fond of beauty, which shouldn't be a crime in your eyes.
Please, no debates. I'm a little dizzy.
A good dinner will soon take care of that.
Why do you always hound me? You know I despise you and everything you stand for.
There's always a chance I may be able to improve your opinion and your manners.
I'm sleepy.
You know you're very lovely.
Please don't bother. I'm not listening. Where are we?
Don't you remember you visited here once upon a time?
You're foul. You said you were taking me home.
You forgot to mention the subject. A significant omission, as your friend Freud would say. Come on, I'm getting soaked.
That launch you. I'm going home.
Right after dinner. Think how wonderful you'll feel when you slap my face. That'll take the chill out of your bones and maybe even your heart. Still cold?
Oh, no. It's quite warm in here.
Cigarette?
Thanks. Very warm.
Light? No, I'm not really detestable, am I?
No. I am.
Why?
Because I ought to go home.
In this rain, you mustn't even think of it.
You see, you are detestable.
And you've been very annoying for months. Madeleine, we belong together. You know that.
No, I don't know that.
Of course you do. We feel the same way about life.
You're not making sense, Mr. Courtney.
Why make sense? Doesn't this make more sense than talking and lying?
No sense at all.
Then what would you call it, darling?
Stupid.
Madeleine, you're wonderful.
Stupid.
You're sweeter than ever. I'd better see who it is.
But I tell you, I'm going to raise the money. I'll pay you, honestly.
I don't like dealing with thieves. That's a job for the police.
You swear out a warrant, you'll never get a dime. Look, I didn't sell it. I just had to have some money temporarily. Here's the pawn ticket.
I'm not interested in pawn tickets. Good night,
But, Carter, you've got to give me a chance.
I said good night.
Let me talk to you. Let me explain this.
You stupid fool.
You'll have the stone back. I'll get it to you. I promise I will. All I need is a little more time, just a couple of weeks. What are you doing?
Phoning the police.
You can't do that. I'm not going to let you ruin me. You're looking very lovely this morning, Mrs. Geiger.
You wasn't expected back until Friday.
That's what I like. A cheery welcome home. Miss Dixon upstairs?
I haven't seen her this morning.
Who is it?
Hi.
Darling.
Oh, I couldn't wait till Friday. I just said my little piece and ran out on them.
Oh, I needed you so badly. I feel lost without you. Don't ever leave me again.
Oh, that you can depend on. Say, I've got big news. I'm a success.
Oh, tell me all about it.
What in the world's the matter with you? You don't look very good. Come on, I think you better get back in bed. Now then,
first, I don't have to go back to Bellyaches in Oregon. You're not marrying a small-town country doctor, young lady. You're marrying a promising young research scientist. At least that's what Dr. Broder says, and he ought to know. He's got a long white beard.
Oh, darling, I'm so proud of you.
I think I'll take your temperature. Gee, I wish you could have been there. When I finished reading my paper, they all got together and offered me my own laboratory in California. I still can't believe it. There it is, right in the paper. You'll find it on the bottom of page 10.
He makes you feel that you're really important. You know what he said to...
Madeleine, what's the matter?
David.
Oh, darling, you're cold as ice. You've got a chill. You stay right here. I'll be back in a minute.
Oh, don't go. Don't leave me.
I'll only be a second. I want to get a hot water bottle and some more blankets.
Miss Madeleine Dixon at home?
I don't know. Friends of hers?
We're from police headquarters. Where's the room?
Upstairs.
What do you want to see Miss Dixon about?
We'll tell her.
Well, perhaps you'd better tell me first. Miss Dixon isn't well.
Who are you?
He's a doctor. He lives here.
If it isn't important, I suggest you come back tomorrow.
It's important.
Could you get some extra blankets and a hot water bottle, please?
You a friend of Miss Dixon's?
Yes, why?
Just asking.
Well, what is it, an accident or something?
I wouldn't call it an accident.
Well, we should cut out this mystery and tell me what it's all about.
Okay, Doc, take it easy.
Madeleine, these men are from the police. They want to
We'll take over from here, Doc. I'm Sergeant Patelli. This is Sergeant Beitler. You're a friend of Felix Cortland's, weren't you? Matter of fact, you were with him last night.
No, I wasn't.
Did you see Mr. Cortland any time yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Now, look, Miss Damien, we wouldn't be here asking questions unless we already knew most of the answers.
Oh, wait a minute. Her name's not Damien. I think you've got the wrong party.
I think maybe you've got the wrong party, Doc. Her name happens to be Damien. This happens to be a case of murder. Take a look at that newspaper.
I want to know what's going on in here. This is my house, and I've got to know.
Sorry, madam. We'll talk to you later.
As long as I've been here, there's never been police
Take
in
her
this
and see
house.
what you can find out.
lady. Come on.
Now, Miss Damien, tell us what happened last night. What time did you leave Cortland's house?
Oh, Dave.
You and this guy, Cortland, were pretty sweet on each other, isn't that right?
Oh, but it isn't. It isn't true.
Now, according to the chauffeur, you got to Cortland's house at 6:45. What time did you leave?
Oh, but I didn't go into the house. I met him by accident. David, don't look at me like that.
How long have you known Miss Damien, Doc?
Not very long, only a few months.
Know that she was mixed up with this guy, Cortland?
Oh, but it's a lie. David, it's a lie.
Okay, so you didn't go into the house with Cortland?
No, I didn't. He wanted me to come to the house, but I wouldn't do it. Oh, I didn't go into the house. I didn't, I tell you.
Who you telling, me or the doc here? Did you get anything?
She came in about 9.
In a cab?
No, she was walking in the rain. Landlady said she looked kind of wild-eyed.
What about Cortland?
He was here, all right. He visited her a couple of weeks ago.
Get the date?
Yeah, April 10th, around midnight.
Anything else?
The landlady thought that Cortland had a key to this place. She was kind of vague as to how he got it.
I didn't give him a key. David, you can't believe that.
I've got his key ring here. This one fits. He had a key, all right.
But I didn't give it to him. Where are you going? Oh, David, don't leave me. I didn't kill him, I swear. I didn't kill him.
Who cares whether you killed him or not?
Could I see him for just a minute?
Well, it isn't regulations. Okay, 60 seconds.
David, please listen to me.
You lied to me. You've always lied to me.
But I'm not lying now. I didn't want to go with him. He said he'd drive me home.
And he made love to you, didn't he? Oh, don't deny it. Of course he made love to you. He had a key to your room.
I should have told you many things. I tried to, but I just couldn't.
If this thing were so innocent, you would have told me. When I said I was in love with you. When I asked you to marry me.
I was afraid, David. I was afraid you wouldn't understand.
You bet I wouldn't.
Before I met you, I was horrible. But you changed all that. You made me sane and happy.
Why keep on lying? You tried that upstairs and it didn't work. Look, I was in love with you. All right, I made a mistake. I thought you were something wonderful and you turned out to be something else. So let's just forget about it.
The only thing that you can do for me is let me alone.
I love you, David. I'll always love you.
So, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the prosecution will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Madeleine Damien is guilty of the premeditated murder of Felix Cortland. We will prove that she was in his apartment the night he was murdered. We will prove that her fingerprints are on the table lighter with which he was murdered. And we will prove further that she had a motive for the murder. For after all, this is a very simple story. To one man, Dr. Cousins, she was a pure and noble woman. To the other, Felix Cortland, an irresponsible light of love. Too self-indulgent to be faithful to the man she wanted to marry. Too weak and lacking in character to break with Cortland. Her twisted soul was bent on a heartless deceit. To make one man believe what all others knew to be a lie. And when Cortland threatened to expose her, she went to his apartment to plead with him in the only way she knew. She embraced him. She made love to him. And when, in spite of that, he threatened to expose the lie that she was living, she silenced him forever. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the state asks you to find Madeleine Damien guilty. Guilty of murder in the first degree. On the night Mr. Cortland called on the defendant, did you let him into her apartment?
I certainly did not.
How did he get in then?
He must have had a key of his own.
The key of his own? Where was the defendant when he arrived?
Out with the doctor, I suppose, pulling the wool over his eyes.
Thank you, Mrs. Geiger. Your witness, Mr. Mitchell.
You've got to let me cross-examine her. No questions. Miss Damien, I can't defend you properly if you won't let me. We've got to put up a fight.
Fight? What for?
And now, Mr. Garrett, just what was the nature of the work you did for Mr. Cortland?
Well, most of it was personal. Confidential secretary, I suppose you'd call it.
And in that capacity, you were in a position to learn a great deal about his private life?
Yes, of course.
Did Mr. Cortland know that Miss Damien was lying to Dr. Cousins and concealing her true character from him?
I'd rather not answer that question, Mr. O'Brien. You see, both Miss Damien and Mr. Cortland were friends of mine.
Yes, I understand. Well, let's get back to the meeting at the airport. What was the attitude of the defendant when Cortland saw Dr. Cousins?
She was embarrassed, naturally.
Yeah. She was embarrassed, naturally. Thank you. Your witness, Mr. Mitchell.
I've got to cross-examine. If I don't, we haven't a chance.
Don't ask him anything.
No questions.
Were you a close friend of the defendant?
Yes, I was.
Did she confide in you on matters of a personal nature?
Yes, she did.
If you were asked in this court, do you think you could recall any of those intimacies?
I could recall some of them in lurid detail.
Your Honor, I object.
Objection sustained.
Well, let me ask you this, Miss Royce. Would you say in general that men found Miss Damien attractive?
Definitely.
And would you say that Miss Damien found men attractive to her?
I'm afraid I most certainly would.
You would? What were the relations between Miss Damien and her former employer, Mr. Cranish?
They were friendly.
In your opinion, was there anything more than friendly?
I object, Your Honor. The question calls for the conclusion of the witness and is prejudicial.
Objection sustained.
Dr. Cousins, I'm Dr. Caleb. Miss Damien's a patient of mine. I don't happen to think she's guilty of murder, do you?
No, I don't.
She may be guilty of other things, but in there she's being tried for murder. And she won't even defend herself.
She's got a pretty good lawyer, hasn't she?
She needs your help, Doctor. In her own mind, she's not on trial for murder. She's on trial for those other things. And it's not the judge who's trying that case, it's you.
I don't want to be rude, Doctor, but I don't think you know what you're talking about.
I'm sorry to disagree. You see, I've been treating Miss Damien for some time. I happen to be her psychiatrist.
Dr. Caleb.
I'm sorry to have bothered you, Doctor.
Your name, please? Richard Caleb. You're a psychiatrist?
I am.
Miss Damien came to you as a patient?
Yes.
Did she come of her own free will?
Yes, of course.
Isn't it true, Doctor, that people do not go to a psychiatrist unless they consider themselves, well, shall we say, not well balanced?
In general, that's correct.
As a matter of fact, wasn't Miss Damien on the verge of committing suicide when she made her first visit to you?
Your Honor, I object.
Well, no matter. We'll prove that by other witnesses. However, is it not true that people who come to you as patients come with problems?
Objection.
Objection overruled.
Well, Doctor?
There'd be no point in their coming to me if they didn't have problems.
So the defendant came to you with a problem. Do you mind telling us, Doctor, in your opinion, just what was Miss Damien's problem?
That is a confidential matter between doctor and patient. I'm afraid I can't discuss it.
Well, during the course of your treatment of Miss Damien, did you ever discuss her relationship with Dr. David Cousins?
Yes, we did.
Well, bearing in mind the fact that she's engaged to be married to Dr. Cousins, do you think she was as frank with him as she should have been?
As a matter of fact, I urged her to tell him everything.
And did she?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, why not, Doctor? Why didn't she?
I'm afraid you'll have to ask Miss Damien about that.
Did you ever meet Dr. Cousins?
Yes, just a few minutes ago.
Well, I'm sure you found him a reasonable, intelligent young man, and yet the defendant refused to confide in him.
Having met Dr. Cousins, I think I can see why Miss Damien hesitated to confide in him.
Do you mind telling us why?
It's my impression that Dr. Cousins hasn't the capacity, either emotionally or intellectually, to understand a problem like Miss Damien's.
How's the trial going, Doctor?
Not very well, I'm afraid.
There's a Dr. Cousins in your office.
Oh?
You said you weren't expecting him.
As a matter of fact, I was expecting him. Hello, Doctor. Sit down, relax. Tell me, is this a professional or a social call?
Dr. Caleb, you said some pretty rough things about me this afternoon.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
I think I'm entitled to an explanation.
So do I. As a matter of fact, I'm very glad you came over. I wanted to talk to you about Miss Damien.
I'm not interested in Miss Damien.
I'm glad to see you're still in love with her.
And I'm not in love with her.
All the better. Then we can approach the subject of Miss Damien as one scientist to another. You see, I'm interested in Miss Damien because she's a patient of mine. I believe I was well on the way to solving her problem. It would be most distressing to me if she were to die now for a crime she didn't commit. It would be as though you had lost one of your white mice, one that you had just inoculated.
What's all this got to do with me?
Only this, that when you testify tomorrow, you'll be asked to tell the truth. The whole truth. The whole truth about a human soul is a complicated proposition. Now, I'm not going to tell you anything about Miss Damien that you haven't already heard. But isn't it possible that you've picked up a few stray facts and added them up to a conclusion that's entirely wrong? Won't you sit down, Doctor?
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. The court is now in session.
Call your next witness, Mr. O'Brien.
Dr. Cousins, please.
This will be their last witness. You've got to let me put you on the stand. I tell you quite frankly, Miss Damien, if you won't testify, we haven't got a chance.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear to tell the truth and the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Your name, please.
David Cousins.
Under what name did you know the defendant?
Madeleine Dixon.
Did she ever tell you her true name?
No, sir.
Did she ever lie to you about her identity?
Yes, sir.
How long did she continue to lie to you?
Till the morning the police came.
Did she ever tell you about her relations with Cortland?
No, she didn't.
You proposed marriage to the defendant and she accepted you?
Yes, sir.
And still she didn't tell you about Cortland?
No, sir.
When did you first know of the true relationship between them?
The same morning, the morning the police came.
Oh, I see. Then from the moment you met her until the day she was taken into custody, you didn't know the truth about her character.
I object, Your Honor.
Mr. O'Brien, haven't you covered your point?
Well, Your Honor, I'm merely trying to clarify for the jury the true nature of the defendant's motive.
Proceed.
Thank you. One more question, Dr. Cousins. If you had known the truth, would it have affected your love for the defendant?
Your Honor, I must protest.
Let him answer.
Objection withdrawn.
And now, Dr. Cousins, if you had known the truth, would it have affected your love for the defendant?
I was in love with Miss Damien then, and I'm in love with her now.
Your witness, Mitchell.
No questions.
Did you really mean it?
Yes, I really meant it.
I can't believe it.
Now will you let me put you on the stand?
You admit you went to Cortland's apartment that night?
Yes.
He made love to you?
Yes.
Did you have any conversations about Dr. Cousins?
No.
Positive?
Yes, I am.
But tell me, Miss Damien, were you in love with Felix Cortland?
No, I wasn't.
Were you in love with Dr. Cousins?
Yes.
Oh. But you went to Cortland's apartment nevertheless.
Yes, I told you that.
You were in love with one man, yet you chose to visit the apartment of a man you didn't love. Did you go of your own free will?
Yes.
Mr. Cortland didn't force you or threaten you?
No.
Then why did you visit him?
I don't know. I made a mistake.
You made a mistake. As you told us on several occasions that you and Mr. Cortland were interrupted by a mysterious intruder, can you tell this jury anything definite about that person? Anything at all?
No, I didn't see him.
You didn't see him?
I only heard his voice.
You seemed very certain it was a man.
It was a man.
What did he say?
Well, I don't know. They were talking in the hall. I couldn't tell what they were saying.
Yes, you heard a voice. You're willing to swear it was a man, and you couldn't hear what he said. Now, what sort of a person do you think would be calling at that time of night? A bill collector? A man selling magazines? Or perhaps even a burglar?
Why not a burglar? Mr. Cortland was a very wealthy man.
He must have been a very timid burglar because nothing was stolen. Of course, you realize that Mr. Cortland kept his jewels in a vault at the store?
Not all of them. He kept some at home, in his safe.
Safe? What safe?
The one in his living room?
You didn't by any chance see that safe, did you, Miss Damien?
Yes, I did.
The court, please. This is the first we've heard about a safe. I ask for a recess to examine the apartment.
Well, Your Honor, we've been all over the apartment.
But if there is a safe, and if it has been robbed...
Gentlemen, court is adjourned until tomorrow morning. I suggest the district attorney, the attorney for the defendant, examine the apartment together.
What about this safe, Mr. O'Brien?
What safe?
How about some papers on the inside, Mr. O'Brien?
You boys better wait outside. I may have a statement for you when I come out. Mr. O'Brien.
Huh? Mind if I tag along?
I don't know why you're sure. The fine witness you turned out to be.
Couldn't help that, sir.
All right, Garrett, where's the safe?
Me, Mr. O'Brien? I don't know of any safe in here.
I didn't think you did. If you want an unbiased opinion, I don't think there is a safe. Well, here's a learned counsel. Perhaps he knows. Where's the safe, Mitchell?
My assistant's checking the location with Miss Damien. He'll be along in a minute.
Oh, you're on a dead one.
While we're waiting, maybe Mr. Garrett could tell us where the safe is.
I've asked him, he doesn't know.
I don't understand that, Mr. Garrett. You were very close to Cortland, weren't you?
That's right. I'm sure if there's a safe in here, I would have known about it. At least I would have seen the key to it.
The answer's very simple. There is no safe.
What did you find out?
I got the dope on him, Mr. Mitchell.
Splendid.
It's over here in this bookcase.
You were wrong for once, Mr. O'Brien.
Could be.
What do you know about that?
Have you got Cortland's keys?
There they are.
Thank you.
That looks to me very much like a safe, Mr. O'Brien.
Yes, it does, doesn't it? But not like a safe that's ever been robbed. I don't think a good burglar would leave those behind.
I guess we're right back where we started from.
Well, I've seen all I want. How about you, Mitchell?
You win this round.
Lock it up, sir.
Yes, sir. See you in court, gentlemen.
Can I give you a lift, Doctor?
No, thanks.
Sergeant, I have some papers here, Mr. Cortland, that I'd like to put in order. Do you mind if I stay?
It's all right with me. We're finished with the place.
Thank you very much. Anything I can do for you, Doctor?
Oh, I was just curious about something. I've never seen a safe like that before. One that operated with a key.
Come to think about it, I guess I haven't either.
Normal assumption about a safe is that the lock works on a combination.
Yes, I guess most of them do.
I was wondering how you knew that this one worked with a key. You said you'd never seen the key to it.
Did I say that?
Uh-huh.
I guess I must have said something I didn't mean.
Oh, I see. There could be another explanation.
Really?
Yes. That you were lying when you said you'd never seen the safe before.
You're not serious, are you, Doc?
I'm a scientist, Mr. Garrett. When we get hold of an odd fact, we consider every possible explanation. We make some of our most important discoveries that way.
Well, it must be fascinating work.
Yes, it is.
Suppose I had known about that safe, which I didn't. What would that prove?
Frankly, nothing. But it does suggest a theory. You were very close to Cortland. You knew about the safe. Maybe the safe was robbed. Perhaps he found out about it. He was quarreling with a man in the hall the night he was killed. Maybe that man was you.
That's a very interesting theory.
Yes, isn't it? Well, as I said, I'm a scientist. When we hit on a theory like that, the next thing we do is to test it. That's all I'm doing.
I see.
Then you won't mind having a little talk with the police?
Why, no. Why should I?
Fingerprints. But then, of course, if you've never seen the safe before, you won't mind them checking it for yours.
Oh, certainly not. The number is Spring 73100. Okay, Doc. No hard feelings. Don't you think this sort of thing is rather out of your line, though?
I guess maybe you're right.
Bye, Doctor.
Goodbye. Spring 73100, wasn't it, Mr. Garrett?
I guess maybe I underestimated you, Doctor. From the Associated Press newsroom. Bulletin. Madeleine Damien has been exonerated of the murder of Felix Cortland. The full confession by an ex-employee, Jack Garrett, is in the hands of the district attorney.
It was a trial marked by many surprises. Notably, the beautiful defendant's startling disclosure of the jewel vault hidden in the apartment of the late diamond importer.
The beautiful Madeleine Damien goes free, and Broadway is tipping its hat today to the young doctor who engaged the murderer in a battle royal.
Miss Geiger, I've been looking for Miss Damien. Have you seen her?
She's gone. She asked me to give you this.
Gone? Well, where did she go?
I couldn't get a word out of her, but I know she left for the airport more than an hour ago.
still hear your voice in that courtroom, and I'll never forget what you said. You did much more than save my life. You made my life worth saving. I can't bear to tell you how much I love you and want to marry you. But right now, that wouldn't be fair. I'm going away for a while. I want to be terribly sure, after all this, that I can really be the kind of person you once thought I was. Maybe after a while that will be possible. And then, when we're both sure, David, please ask me again. Goodbye, my darling.
Passengers on Flight 41 boarding at Gate 6.
Will you try and see him once in a while?
Of course.
You see, I want to be sure of myself.
I'm sure of you.
Are you really?
After what you've been through, I'm very sure.
All aboard, please.
Goodbye.
I still think you're making a mistake.